On Monday, a court in Sweden sided with Tesla in the company's legal battle to secure license plates for its vehicles in the country. So I think the court is in the place called Norrköping, I think you say. It's the district where the court is, and they ordered basically the Swedish Transport Agency to provide the license plates to Tesla within a week or incur a big fine of 1 million Swedish krona, which is about $95,000. And that's reported in the local Swedish media there. So the issue stemmed from a strike by postal workers, which resulted in the halt of plate deliveries indirectly because they were not posting things to Tesla, and that includes anything like registration plates. And that's in solidarity with the Swedish dock workers, saying that they will not offload Teslas in Sweden because Tesla refused to sign a CBA point blank, which is an agreement to commit to healthy working conditions in Sweden. Basically, it's important in Sweden. It's a cultural norm, and it's different to a regular union in the US, for example. They're actually very, very effective in Sweden. As far as I can see, when I've mentioned this, loads of Swedish people agree. I haven't had a Swedish person disagree yet. And it's very important to protect the rights of Swedish workers. Thank you for joining today's video, folks. I'm Ben Alexander, for those of you that are new to the channel, and if you don't know me, welcome. I make videos every day about the latest EV news from all over the world. Let me know if you agree or not in the comments section at the end, because it isn't just me that reads the comments. Loads of you also read other people's comments and then have little chats in there. Really, really interesting stuff. I may get in some bother maybe for this video, because I'm not really supposed to talk about this, this sort of modern stuff being really, really fair and political sort of stuff. Tesla have argued that the withholding of license plates for its new vehicles is illegal and it's discriminatory, and it's a discriminatory act specifically targeting the company. This claim, however, was refuted by the Swedish Transport Agency. A representative from the agency commented to the Associated Press, denying any deliberate obstruction in distributing the license plates. So nobody overtly aimed to stop Tesla receiving registration plates in Sweden, exclusively registration plates. That was just, I guess, a happy coincidence for those people that support the strikes. Also, further complicating the situation, employees of PostNord, Sweden's national postal service, initiated a strike on the 20th of November. The strike's aim was to pressure Tesla into agreeing to a CBA, a collective labour contract for its mechanics in Sweden. This is basically the roots of the whole matter. Despite this, the transport agency did not explore any other delivery methods for the license plates. Again, they didn't publicly avow to hinder Tesla receiving their license plates, but just basically saying we're not going to post anything to Tesla. Just to further iterate as well what I've already said, 90% of Swedish workers are covered by some form of collective agreement, and this genuinely benefits employers and employees in Sweden. I know it isn't always the case around the world, and unions are often a bit shafty and just trying to get rich and get more power, but in Sweden they actually are a force for good. If you think back to the basic roots of the idea of a union, let's collaborate, come together to make a good deal for everyone here, that's still sort of in place, roughly speaking, in Sweden. It's just not like that everywhere in the world. So it is worth bearing that in mind. So keeping things as they are in Sweden is very important. And it's very important to not let a foreign company come in to Sweden, not make clearly any effort in any way, shape or form, and take local money and take it abroad. When in Sweden, things are very, very fair. It's a very reasonable place, and we want to keep the balance as it is and fight for things that are really, really worthwhile fighting for, so that maybe in 10 or 20 years time from now, things will be in a good way still. What we don't want is for it to become like, I guess you could say, California or London, where there is a huge disparity in wealth and incredibly dodgy foreign multinational companies popping in, taking local money, being a bit shafty, opening a bank account in Switzerland and just never paying taxes, like Vodafone, for example. So I think Swedish people understand this, And they're quite common sense about the whole thing, and that's why they're actually standing together. If you had what they had in Sweden, then you definitely wouldn't be so keen on foreign companies like Tesla, rather bullishly coming in and taking loads of foreign money and just not being very pleasant to deal with. The Toys R Us strike in Sweden in 1995 was another really big labour conflict, and that highlighted issues around the recognition of unions and collective bargaining. So in 1995, when Toys R Us, which is also a multinational American company, expanded into Sweden, it opted not to sign a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement, and instead it just hired non-union workers. This decision led to a 3-month strike by the retail store employees union in Sweden. The company's refusal to negotiate with I think it's called Handels, I can't remember how to say it, Handels Hanstalldas, if I remember right, Forbund, a retail workers' union, was at the heart of the conflict, and the strike took place in the major cities where Toys R Us had outlets, including Stockholm, Gothenburg, Malmo. The initial strike by the retail store employees union soon escalated. Other unions joined in sympathy strikes, effectively turning the dispute into just a massive boycott against Toys R Us. This broadening of support underlines the solidarity within the Swedish labour movement and collective support for union recognition and rights for workers in Sweden. They really do take care of their people there. So after 3 months of striking, Toys R Us eventually signed the agreement, and with 130 of its employees in Sweden, this agreement then marked the end of the strike and represented a significant victory for the workers and their unions, and it underscored the effectiveness of collective action in labour disputes. Together, in big numbers, we can do stuff, but not as individuals. That's the issue here. So this is why I suppose unions are a good thing, particularly in a country like Sweden where collective agreements are standard practice in various industries. 90% of workers are, like I've said, signed up to one. So it's reasonable to say that when something like CBAs are refused by foreign multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies, then you must protect your cultural norms and take action. I don't think you can just let them come to your country and then do what they want and pay whatever taxes they want and sign whatever they do and don't want. Lots of people in the comments are commenting that Tesla workers are literally all rich. And so that makes everything okay. And they have multiple houses, multiple cars, a really good life, lots of stocks and shares in Tesla. So nobody in Tesla in Sweden should be moaning. They should all be lucky to work for an American multinational company with whatever rights they were afforded. But that's not the point at all. It doesn't matter if someone gets a good salary and good benefits or not. Anecdotally, the point is that foreign companies are refusing to respect the cultural norms expected by local people. That's the issue. That's it. Underline that. So whilst you can argue that Tesla workers decided to work there, they do also have to feed their kids and pay their bills in the immediate future. And if they were looking for a job and that came along, you probably wouldn't refuse it. But everyone collectively would rather that job be a job that was offered by a company that respected your cultural norms. So if the offer of a job is there, then it is important, to respect the individual that took the job in the first place, I suppose, and think about it in their shoes. We can't expect everyone to be an activist for local rights. And a lot of people working in Sweden at Tesla will not be willing to rock the boat when they may have, a kid or two and a family to feed and a house to pay for. And this is a slippery slope because you might then start to see salaries lower, people getting unjustly sacked, or a company sacking people with crappy excuses, or, contracts may become a bit more forgiving on Tesla's end if they ever decide to sack someone for not wanting to work certain days when they got asked, which, by the way, is not the norm in Sweden. To get sacked in Scandinavia, you have to be trying to get sacked, basically. So we don't want Sweden to become a place where in 10 years' time it looks like California, with huge amounts of foreign companies taking away local money, avoiding paying taxes, doing dodgy tax affairs. We don't want people to be thinking that they're lucky to just have a job, so shut up, be scared, and, or you'll get sacked and take this crappy salary. That's not the world I think any of us really want. Maybe you're more used to that in the US or the UK, of course. That's just the capitalist system at play. But in Sweden, it's just not there. You know, that's not exactly how it is in Sweden. So in these places like the US and the UK, people don't so much get asked, do you want to work on a weekend? Rather, you get told to work it. And then if you say no too many times, you get sacked for not being a team player. So I won't try to explain this. I think, generally speaking, and this might be a little bit presumptuous, but if you get it, you get it. And if not, then you obviously support capitalism for all its faults and don't care quite enough for the people that live around you, perhaps, because we all want to get paid well and feel safe with our jobs at work. I just think that's how it should be, you know. Basically, to round off, Sweden is a beautiful place, brilliant, work rights, and it's a very fair system that I think a lot of people would be really keen to live in. And so far as I can see, Swedish people that watch my videos on this, I've done 2 before this one, basically all agree, and no American agrees. I don't think I've ever heard anything positive from an American, which enforces what I say, basically. Not to upset you, the US is a lovely place. It's quite a different place, and it's quite normal to see homeless people next to multimillionaires on the streets of the US, and also the UK nowadays, actually. This isn't the case in Sweden, so the system is much more pleasant for people that live there. Don't be quick to judge with this stuff. When you read about it, Swedish people are just hoping to maintain the system that is working for them, and it really is working for them. That's why it's so clean and lovely, and people are happy to pay high taxes. That's why. That's the way that it is. Sweden have a lot to lose culturally here. This is not something people in the UK or US will ever really understand unless you actually go to Scandinavia and really try and have a good couple of chats with some people. So I don't want to bug people with this, but I really hope it wasn't too much of a rant. It is important to shine a light on it because this stuff is really important. It's incredibly arrogant of Tesla to do this, I think. And because I know that YouTube scans my videos and listens to the words that I use, it will likely get shadow banned simply for being a bit, negative about California or, Silicon Valley, or even talking about Tesla in a not so positive light. Even though I like Tesla and I support their work, a spoon's a spoon, as I said in my last video. So please consider liking the video or commenting on some of the hate comments that I'll likely get for this video. Sadly, it's not like I'm aiming to irritate Americans, because I think the people in the US are largely fantastic. And just like everywhere else in the world, it's the system that clearly isn't working for the masses in the US. That's the issue. And if you think it is, then please go to Scandinavia and then come back and report back to me.